Someone in our chat has got us on loud as well. Come on, if you just check your streams. I really apologise, guys. If someone had have said sooner. So basically, everything we've just said is a total waste of time because we've just been chatting to each other and people have been watching. Sorry, I didn't realise my drivers on my mic have done an update, so the sound was rubbish. So I do apologise. Um, Basically, welcome all to the stream. I'm sorry you've just been watching us have a good natter away, and we'll get started. If ever that happens again and you join in, please tell me as soon as possible. We've basically just been going through about different medication and basically saying you've just sort of got to trial and error it and hope that it works. If it doesn't, you're going to have to try other stuff. I think that's a summary because I don't really want to go back through it all again and make you guys repeat absolutely everything you've just said. And James has just kindly said, because we're saying about we're so different, I will just get everyone to reintroduce themselves just so you guys can all get a view of the fact that basically that we're all very different. So I'm just going to get everyone to reintroduce themselves, unfortunately. And then James has basically said about because we're so different, his symptoms were quite noticeable. I don't know if anyone joined a few weeks ago, but he was saying about having a lot of blood that Northly he'd been ignoring. So, and saying on a milder scale, how did we notice? So, um, do you guys mind just quickly introducing yourselves again? I'm really sorry about this sound problem. Jen, do you want to introduce yourself first, and then James, and then Louise, if we go in that order?
Yeah, so I'm Jen. I've just been diagnosed with Crohn's at Christmas, and I am about to start some immune suppressors because my Crohn's is still active. Um, and as for the symptoms, I only started getting symptoms when I came off some antidepressants.
Yeah.
And I then started getting symptoms. Since going back on antidepressants, my symptoms have got a lot better, but I've obviously still got active Crohn's. So,
Just talking about what James asked, you know, when you say symptoms,
yeah.
what symptoms? Just to
Oh,
compare
so
notes, basically.
yeah, so basically, when I came off my antidepressants, I just started going to the toilet more, and that was it really. I didn't. Oh, sorry, yeah, I did have that pain, but it was only like a very like discomfort rather than a pain in my stomach
Yeah.
on the left. Sorry, right.
Yeah.
And that was it. That I didn't. It wasn't really very extreme or anything like
Yeah.
that. Um. So yeah. So I put myself back on them, and they did help my symptoms, but obviously it doesn't fix it. It just helps with
Well,
that.
not really if it's IBD, but yeah. Right, James, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone
Yes,
quickly?
yeah. So
Sorry.
yeah, I'm James. That's all right. Second time round. I'm
Yeah.
James. I've had IBD undiagnosed for the last 2 years, coming up almost to the date. Various different treatments in between, and hospital admission, and a bunch of interesting stories that I may share again if you want me to later on. And I'm on immune suppressant treatment and have been for about 12 months. So I get infusions every 2 months, and hopefully moving to home injections on the next one. We'll see.
Perfect. Louise, sorry once again. Thank you.
So I'm Louise. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 2010 and had surgery to have a total colectomy, ileostomy bag, and then reversal. And then just before Christmas, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I'm now on biologic injections.
Perfect. Thank you. So in terms of mine, sort of a bit similar to Jen, but so I was told for about at least 4 or 5 years at this point that it was actually IBS. That's how long I'd been having it on and off. I'd often complain about a bit of an upset stomach, but not really think anything of it. And then I had an episode where I thought I'd got food poisoning because I was really ill for like about a fortnight. And then ever since then, it was like I was never fully right after it. My granddad passed away, and at that time I put it down to just being really upset and stressed because I was obviously very upset about it. And I was going up to 14 times a day, even though I wasn't eating. It still seemed to, without being vulgar, this sounds really grim. I think the thing that I noticed wasn't necessarily how much I was actually going. It was the fact that I wasn't eating, but I was still going, and because I wasn't eating, I was actually passing like mucus, and without sounding vulgar, if I had like some water, I'd basically produce that water from my backside and it would be as clear as it went in. So I was basically pooing water, I guess, which obviously was odd. They did an MRI at that point and it took 11 months to come back. And they basically told me it was IBS and to go away and keep a food diary, give me Buscopan and all the same sort of stuff that you had. And then I think I did have a period where I did pass blood short term, but only a smidge. But I think at that point it was probably like, without sounding vulgar, like a tear or something because of going all the time. And then they finally triggered it from all my weight loss because me and Jen talk about this. So I would say Jen's got more inflammation inside, but I suffer more with trying to eat. So I often can't hold me, like, so Saturday night I'd got one on me because obviously I've had a belly full, like I told you guys before the stream, and I'm usually pretty strict on it because I'm only just starting to come off safe food. I've been on safe food for like I've been on safe food now for like a year and a half. I'm only just starting to introduce foods other than like carbs and a bit of protein back in. And in a temper, I went and had some vegan sausage rolls with some curly fries that are a little bit spicy and some normal chips. And I must admit, there was too much on my plate. I'd not eaten properly all day, so I'd gone and shoved one big meal in, and it had got a bit of spice on. Didn't know how I was with these vegan sausage rolls, and I had a Budweiser because I haven't had beer in like a year, and it was a year and 5 months, and I finally went and had one drink with my parents, and then I had one drink with my friends. So this is my third official drink in a year and 5 months. I've just not drank at all. And I had this massive plate of food that I wasn't sure if I was okay to eat some of it, and a beer, and besides very weird noises coming from my stomach after, I was fine. Woke up on the morning, thought, oh, I've got away scot-free with this. Oh no, lucky. I went 7 times in 2 hours, so even now, I don't know if that's still fairly normal, if because I don't actually fully, they've still not got back to me if I'm in remission yet, but even now I can't seem to figure out what I eat, when I eat it, how I eat it. It doesn't matter. It's like going, here's a pack of cards, let's hope you pick your card. It just, I don't know if you guys get that, but me and food, that's one thing I would love that I don't know if I'll ever get back, is even after steroids now. I still struggle with, I don't struggle as much and I don't get as much pain. But like, I think the main thing was for me was the fact that like a lot of meals within 15 minutes back out, not even digested. Or someone else put in the story saying about, see, this is the thing, is a lot of people are saying can't eat this, can't eat that, and they've got a rough idea. I'm like, you know, when you've been trying for the last 5 years and it's like I still can't like figure it out is what it is that's setting it off. It seems like the wind could be blowing the wrong way, and it's like, right, today it's going to play up, but next week it'll blow the right way and you'll be fine with that meal again. So at the minute I'm very much struggling, but yeah, so for me it wasn't so much passing blood. I did have a lot of, when I look back on a few flare-ups I've always had a lot of mucus, and it was always the amount of times I was going. And same as Jen, in the right side I'd constantly get like a burning pain, and I found I was crippled in agony if I didn't eat, but if I ate I'd be crippled up as well. And obviously you don't want to eat because you don't want to be bad, but then you find that I find the pain's actually worse when you're actually starving, because you're almost like, I don't know about you guys, but I almost used to not know if I was hungry either, because you know when you go from like thinking, oh, I could maybe eat, to just feeling sick. That was always me. I could never gauge when to eat, I guess. If
So
any,
the thing as
say
well
that again.
is
Yeah, go
just
on,
saying
Jen.
because I think stress comes down to it as well, doesn't
Stress
it?
doesn't
Like,
help me at all. I have
so
noticed that definitely makes me worse. Yeah.
yeah.
How do you guys find that now that you actual symptoms within reason are being treated a little? How do you guys find how you all are with food, generally speaking? Are you guys still struggling even all these years later, or
I still do. I
yeah,
can, like, some days I can have spaghetti bolognese and be absolutely fine, but then I
yeah,
had it on Monday
yeah,
and my stomach's just been horrendous for the
yeah,
last few days. So sometimes I can be absolutely fine with it, and
yeah,
sometimes it'll just play my stomach off.
yeah,
It's I, I stay away from spicy foods,
yeah,
anything that's hot, anything like that. I stay away from.
yeah.
But I'm not overly fussed on that sort of food anyway. So for me,
It's
it
all
doesn't
right.
matter. But at the end of the day, it's just trial and error. But
Yeah,
as I say, one day I can be fine with bolognese, and another day
this is
I'm not.
me. Yeah. I found Italian food. Italian food is my favourite, and if anything's gonna make me bad, I don't. So I suffer quite bad with a lot of acid reflux. I don't know if you guys do as well, but I think I'm assuming it's acidic, and the tomatoes doesn't help. But originally, before like around the time they was telling me it was IBS, I was finding if I had a vegetable pizza, within about 15 minutes, I'd have to run to the toilet, and without being horrible, all the pizza toppings were just literally already there. Like, nothing had happened, they were just there. I'm like, oh, okay, then, this is a thing these days. And then eventually, I couldn't even eat normal pizza. Even that's gone out the window. I found now I can only eat pizza if I make it from scratch myself and I don't put like any garlic or anything at all in. I've just kept it like bare basics of almost like a dough, tomato and cheese, and just kept it the most simplest ingredients ever, and I'm fine. So there's definitely something somewhere in pizza
You like
that
the oil, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I put a little bit of olive oil on mine and I'm
Yeah.
fine. So, but there is definitely, because I know they reckon takeaway pizza, there's a lot of crap in like the base alone, let alone in the rest. Because I think some of them say about thickening up with horsehair. I don't know how true that is, but it's definitely put me off anyway.
Oh
So,
no.
and it
I'm
tastes
not
so
having a
I've
good.
never.
pizza.
Yeah, well, sausages, they put a lot of sawdust in to like expand them up, apparently. There's quite a lot of crap. I think the more you read into stuff when it's so difficult to eat, the more you traumatize yourself into not eating stuff. Um, oh, really? That's quite interesting to know, actually, if that you've been taking something that your diet has gone back to what it used to. I don't know why. I was really hoping that once I had steroids, I'd be able to eat like a normal human, and there's a few things I can actually eat again. Like, I love pasta bake, and well, I've had that 4 times in about 7 days now because I can actually eat that again. So I'm definitely going to be bad off it at some point for overdoing it. But that's one thing I can eat now that I couldn't during while I was bad before. Um, how do you get on with food, James?
Well, I'm probably the worst person to ask this question because I have quite a restricted gym diet, so I don't eat a huge amount of variety as it is. Well, I say that on the weekends, I'll scoff anything down. But early on when I came out of hospital, I kind of did the whole guinea pig test on myself. I just tried everything I
Yeah,
would normally try until it mixed with me wrong. And
that's
I suppose I
me.
was quite fortunate that there wasn't a huge amount. I
Yeah,
can't have high caffeinated drinks anymore.
yeah,
Isn't a bad thing, I guess, but I'm quite on a restrictive diet as it is. So I like mainly eat tuna, chicken, rice, all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
eggs. So it's not, mild curries are all right. I can't say I've tested the water on anything stronger in a while. I don't think I want to. Um, but yeah, I say it's been okay. I haven't really pushed the boat out. Maybe
yeah,
I'll be a guinea pig again for the next couple of weeks, and when I speak to you again, I'll let you know how it turns out.
yeah,
And
definitely.
see what happens.
Weirdly, I'm actually okay with So if I have like a little bit of curry, I only have mild curry anyway, but if I was to have a little bit of curry from the Chinese and my parents are like a bit of curry sauce and like fried rice and a couple of chips, I'm totally fine and literally get nothing. I could even like I had the beer with it and I'm still fine. I was so amazed that I managed to do it. And then like I say, just a vegan sausage roll with some beers, like you think would probably be better, and no, not happened. Strange. Like you say though, I do think stress factors in because I'd only gone and had it in temper, to be honest. I was just like, right, I've been so strict with my food for this long, tonight I shall dine. And then literally the day later I was like, oh, it was still worth it, it's fine. um so obviously we've gone through meds a little bit because obviously well, not that half the people heard it at home, unfortunately, and I know we've gone through food and stuff. I'm just trying to think actually if there's anything a bit like random we could maybe ask that like compare notes on that are just like, like when you think, oh, I wonder if other people have this, because I put on my Instagram the other day about like like the common complaints of like skin and joints and stuff like that. How many of you have actually noticed that you're getting skin problems on top? If we go with that one first, because that's quite a generic one. In whichever order you guys want to fire it at me.
I've only noticed issues when taking treatment. I've not
Yeah.
noticed any issues from
Yeah.
the condition itself, unless of course I've mixed it up with the treatment. But
Yeah.
I think I mentioned before that after having infliximab, after I think probably the first 2 or 3 treatments,
Yeah.
I was like a frail old man when I came home. I couldn't walk the stairs. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It affected my joints. I couldn't I get halfway up the stairs and my knee would just stop working. I was just stood there like, okay.
That's not
But
moving.
not particularly, not particularly with like Crohn's. But I suppose I've had it or had symptoms from sort of day one for about 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's hard now to sort of think back and go, well, what was Crohn's? What was just me being underweight? What was me not being myself?
Yeah.
To where I am now, and what is, I mean, they pump you full of all sorts. So what side effects are what.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be really hard to pinpoint it. But yeah, only treatment for me have I had issues.
Yeah. Jen, have you noticed anything with your skin? Or joints?
Yeah, well, when I was on the steroids, it seemed really good.
Me too. Apart from I'd got moon face around my chin.
But yeah, now I'm getting because we're having to wear masks all the time anyway. But I've noticed my skin's a lot like drier in areas.
Yeah.
Spotty. Like I was never really very sort of spotty as a teenager and stuff,
Yeah.
but now it seems to be just quite like just sore. But because I suffer from psoriasis as well. Funnily enough, that's all disappeared at the moment. But yeah, I've just seemed to get these like raging spots now.
I get that as well, actually. So I never suffered with spots as a kid. Always get them round here and there, but whether I'm at work wearing a mask or not, it always seems to keep happening. And when I was a kid, I used to get eczema quite bad. And when if you're under the age of 6, they say you grow out of it. I've grown out of mine. And then just before I was taking steroids, my skin was dry as a bone and starting to like flake. Took steroids, and like you say, besides like getting a few spots on my chin still and like getting a bit of a like weird jawline that just looked like I was a hamster walking around the house. I thought my skin was like loads better, and so I've come off them. I developed a weird foot rash just after I come off mine, and it lasted about 2 weeks, and it's gone. And I don't know if it was relevant or not. But I've actually had my skin on my face looked at again because I've started getting itchy rashes like when I was a kid. And lo and behold, apparently, one of my the girls who works for me, her mom is a dermatologist, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's atopic eczema. It's either an allergy or this, that, and the other." And she's like, "Oh, and the steroids could have weakened your immune system, so you could have developed a new allergy." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So that's something I've got to look into about getting steroid cream. So I definitely think it could be connected. What about you, Louise? Have you got anything? skin or joint
Not
related?
that I can remember before. My skin's got really dry lately, and I don't know whether I'm putting that down to the new injections I'm trying,
Yeah.
or the fact of obviously I'm now not allowed to go on the sunbeds because of the things I'm on.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas normally I'd be on the sunbeds and everything, so I'm trying out different fake tans to try and find something. It's going to make me look a little bit brown, so I'm not sure which one, whether it's the injections that's drying my skin out or
Yeah.
whether it's the amount of fake tan I'm trying to use.
Yeah, yeah, like I say, I think as well, like, someone's put in the chat about saying the knuckles get really dry and cracked in the winter. I can very much relate to that. I bet Jen can as well, being hairdressers.
Yeah,
If I,
just looking at mine now. They're
yeah,
not great.
I don't think you'll pick mine up because of having a pink. I can try. I don't think you can see. You can probably see a bit that they're a bit red. I've not got the best lighting on at the minute because I've got my nice pink lighting. Let's see if I can. Oh, it's a bit blurry. They are all cut in, but I don't think you can see because I've got a really nice wide aperture lens on that blurs everything out with the movement, so it makes it very difficult for me to put stuff up close. But yeah, all mine are cut open at the minute. But I weirdly lately seem to be allergic to all liquid soap going. It literally, the minute I come into contact with it, it's burning my skin really bad. Yeah, I could go and put my hand in a load of clients' scalp bleach for ages and my hand's fine. All the salon shampoos, no gloves, fine. The minute I have to borrow someone's like liquid soap, my hands are like, certain ones, I'm finding at least 80% of them are giving me an allergic reaction. I've had to start buying bar soap at home. And I've never really been a fan of bar soap, especially if like a few of you are sharing it. And I've never had to do that before. That's quite a random one. In terms of joints, what are we saying with joints? I know obviously my ribs knackered, but I don't actually know if that's related. They've said 50-50 for me. Do you guys ever get any joint problems as well?
I suffer with my back,
Yeah.
the bottom of my back mainly, but
Yeah.
a lot of that's related to when I had my ileostomy bag. I used
Yeah.
to sit on a strange angle because of it.
Yeah.
So now the bottom of my spine's not quite straight, so that's where a lot of my back pain comes from.
Yeah.
But physios gave me exercises to do years ago, and I
Yeah.
just stopped doing them. So it's partly my own fault.
Bless you. To be fair, I do wonder sometimes with like my rib because I sometimes get pain in my hips as well, and a physio's looked at it and said basically my body's twisted a bit, but I'm prone to sitting on one leg when I'm gaming. Don't know why, I just do. Um, and I do wonder if maybe over time that could have started to trigger some of my rib off, to be honest. Besides when you was on treatment, James, is there anything you've noticed joint wise?
I honestly haven't. I guess it's in the early days when I was having symptoms, I felt like I was just exhausted all the time and I couldn't move, and it did affect my joints. But I guess I put that down to the fact that I lost. Bear in mind, I weigh like 90 kilos now. I weighed 63, 64 then. So like my other half used to call me Mr. Burns. There wasn't much of me. So yeah, I did ache and stuff, but I put that down to the fact that I'd lost a lot of weight, and there was just nothing to carry my lanky backside around.
Yeah.
Not so much now.
Yeah.
But again, only on treatment really.
Yeah.
But again, it's a developing thing, and we're all at different stages. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold my breath on that one.
What about you, Jen? Have you noticed anything?
No, I don't think I have really. I get a few odd joint pains, but as I ride horses as well, and I've fallen off a few times. Sometimes you're just like, well, could it be that you just, fall into the floor sort of thing? But no, I don't really notice anything.
Yeah.
Joint wise, which is
Yeah.
lucky.
I'm just trying to fit. So mental health wise, changing the subject like slightly because this is something else I started to ask about because this one is probably going to be a bit of a touchy subject tonight after what you've had earlier. But how have you found over the years, especially when it's very different from when you're newly diagnosed to when you've been dealing with it years, because you can go one of two ways, I guess. You can either be like, oh God, this isn't ever ending, but then you can have the other attitude of, right, this is what I've got, let's crack on with it. So, like, over time, how is your mental health been impacted by it, I guess, and compared to where you maybe are now? Like, are you more, I don't know, positive thinking now, or how have you found it? Whoever wants to go first, jump right in.
Well, I mean, because I'm really new to it all, so I'm just literally, this is the first time I'm going to be on like immune suppressors
Yeah.
and I don't know. You sort of hope, don't you, that you're okay and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just going to go away, but it is not. And like you say, you just need to accept it and trust what the doctors are saying, and yeah, just try and carry on as much as you can. But obviously, because I'm newly diagnosed, like I can't imagine what it's like, years and years down the line, having to like try different things, because
Yeah.
people have all sorts of different reactions to different drugs, don't they? So, but that's quite scary as well, thinking that you're gonna have to have a sort of it's sort of like a cocktail of drugs you can have before you can find your, the thing that's actually going to work for you. Because
Yeah.
everyone's so different as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I sort of feel. It's just a bit of a scary journey.
James or Louise, do one of you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think it was the proper. So if we cast back 2 years ago, in the last sort of couple of months, was when I first started having symptoms. And as I said before, I just ignored and ignored and ignored, and I was like, fine, I'll be fine. Saw the doctors, they said I was fine. I was like, cool. I kind of deep down knew that I wasn't, but I just, all the while I was being told I was fine, I just went, yeah, and rolled with it. And it wasn't probably until a couple of days before my birthday when a few of my family members started to stage an intervention and saying, like, you're losing blood 12 times a day, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, snap out of it. And even then, I was a little bit naive in the sense that it's fine. I'll go to hospital. They'll kick me out by midnight. I'll be home in bed. And then I think it really scared me when I got to hospital, got to A&E, explained what was going on. They looked on the system, some of the results that the GP had. And I didn't even have to wait. They just took me straight upstairs and put me in an isolation bay, and I was there for a week. And I think that was when it really kind of hit home. I was like, oh, I'm kind of falling apart a little bit. They did all sorts of tests, and it really dawned on me that actually I was quite ill. And at the time, they didn't know what it was. And as you know, Dr. Google tells you you're going to die even if you've got a cold. So I spent too much time on my phone, and they thought it was saying like I could be bowel cancer and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I've got kids at home, like, what the hell's going on? And then once the doctor started to tell you a little bit about what was going on, understood what it was, I snapped out of it very quickly. I was like, oh, they know what it is, they're going to deal with it. And I just kind of let them get on with it from there. And that it was only probably a brief period of a couple of days where I was genuinely worried. I was like, I may have overdone it. But once they started to fill me with a bit of confidence and numerous cocktail of drugs, it all seems to sort of pan out from there. It's still scary to a certain extent because you don't know what the future holds and you don't know how your body's going to react to it. And they're saying, oh, we're going to put you on a drip every 2 months, and you're thinking, okay. But for me, I just kind of rolled with it, and so far so good. So, but I realise everyone has different experiences in that.
I think it is a weird feeling as well, like to actually be told like you've got to go and keep having drips and stuff, because especially being young as well, like I think like you said on the stream before, like you expect people with bags to be like 80-year-old people, and then obviously when you actually look at statistics, most people who are diagnosed with IBD are less than 30, so realistically all these people could be walking around with bags, because you wouldn't know unless someone shows you, because obviously people are almost like too embarrassed or whatever because of society, blah blah blah, this, that and the other. Because like my great auntie had a bag in later life, and I've also not long ago found out that I think it's like my mom's cousin. I don't know what relation that would make him to me, but yeah. So basically, he's also had the surgery as well for Crohn's. And so like these generations have been walking around with them, and like he's only just come forward and told my mom because my mom's mentioned it. It's like, oh yeah, I've got it. And it's like, would have been useful to know going through my diagnosis that it's clearly in my family. So thank you. um, what about you, Louise? What are your thoughts on in terms of mental health?
At the beginning, I really struggled when I was first diagnosed. I was in a relationship, living with a partner and everything, and obviously I was only 19 when I was diagnosed
Yeah,
with the colitis, and things were fine, but it was only within 6 months of me from starting with symptoms to then being told that I needed surgery and to have an ileostomy bag.
yeah,
So I really struggled. The doctors wanted me on antidepressants and I refused. So they said, well, I have to see a counsellor. They gave me two options, antidepressants or a counsellor.
yeah,
My counsellor was brilliant. Me and my partner split up. It was a lot to deal with for somebody at 19 to deal with how ill I was
yeah,
and to have an ileostomy bag. I wasn't working because I gave up work because I just couldn't do it. And I think that had the main impact was the fact of nobody knew much about IBD or anything back then. It wasn't talked about. There wasn't the Facebook pages or anything like there is now.
yeah,
And it was quite a thing of the only people that have bags are old people. Nobody
yeah,
that's young has them. Whereas
yeah,
now people are quite happy to post photos and show
yeah,
that they've got them.
yeah. I think sometimes, like, I know a lot of people say like social media can be quite toxic and stuff like that, but I also think it's very amazing when you look at people like I know Mr. Colitis Crohn's or like people like that are very good at like going, actually I still look like a normal healthy sort of person, but technically deep down I'm not really. I have to fight to be healthy, and even that's only going to be to an extent. And to obviously show people like I know a few people now have even started showing like videos of how to take one off, put a new one on, stuff like that. And I know this sounds really weird. I actually really like watching these videos because I find it fascinating with like the fact that obviously it's like, I don't know. I know technology obviously still needs to advance further because it would be much better if they could obviously solve the problem in terms of like actually making us all healthy. But in terms of what they've done so far to put obviously these bags on for you to swap them and for you Bell to basically be poking out at you, I think it's pretty amazing. I know not everyone likes to look at it; they find it a bit graphic, but me personally, I think like I'm grateful that someone is willing to show that video because one day that could happen to me, so I want to sort of know what to expect, but also I think it's good for people who aren't ill to see what some people have to go through as well, to be honest. Just reading one of the comments about you're not ashamed to say that you broke down in the consultant room or taking treatments as I didn't think I was that ill. I do think everyone has that moment of like, oh my god, is this really happening? Because I think even though on a mild case, I honestly, because they kept telling me it was IBS, I don't think it always fully sinks in, or you might have a day where you're doing really good and you really appreciate in the fact that you're having a good day, and then tomorrow it's like, oh great, I'm being bad again now. So I do think every sort of day is a bit of a expect a mountain if you only get a molehill. It's a good day, I guess. I suppose that's the best attitude to have a little bit.
All the time.
Yeah, I feel like from what I've found so far, and like I say, I'm very newly diagnosed, although I've had problems on and off for a little bit, but even then, obviously, a lot milder than obviously what other people have had. I think over time now I've found that some weeks are always going to be better than others. And some days I'll have a day where I'm just really upset about it, going, oh god, I'd love to just go and have this meal. And then other days I'm like, well, if I didn't get diagnosed with it, I wouldn't have set this stream up. I wouldn't have started talking to like a lot of people that are actually quite inspirational people to talk to, because I think every single person that you talk to, like, that's dealing with it are so, I don't know, just matter of fact and get on with it. But realistically, you fight in your body every day, and people who are healthy probably don't notice it so much. But I think when you suffer with it yourself, like, you're like, wow, they must be a really strong in person to like keep having, like, I don't know, like if you was having blood like how many times a day, you've got to be a strong person to still. I know obviously it's frustrating if you ignored it, but to still keep going and about your day, like these people are so strong. Do you know what I mean? How do you guys manage blockages at home? Is it straight to pain relief, or do they have any more advice? Does anyone have any advice for? I'm glad you've joined. I'm so happy. I'm going to get you on at some point, interviewing you, by the way. If anyone wants another channel to go and subscribe to or follow, Uncle Fiesta, who's in the chat, also games a lot and also is an advocate for IBD. He's very much worth a follow. Just so you know. Has anyone got any answers for him, out of curiosity?
In
Jane,
regards to
Louise?
blockages, I've been lucky. I've never
Yeah,
had any.
yeah,
Because obviously I had my large intestine removed, I've got to
yeah,
be very careful with foods and digesting.
yeah,
So mushrooms, sweet corn, things like that I
yeah,
avoid. And anything else that's hard to digest, I make sure is cut up really small. So I've been lucky the fact that I've never had problems with blockages.
To echo that, to be honest, neither have I. I consider myself quite lucky in terms of where I'm at with mine at the moment.
yeah.
It was really bad, and now seems to be really okay. I don't want to jinx it, like wood on that one.
I'm going to touch wood for you.
Yeah, it's been really okay, and it's like I don't know whether I'm putting that down to the fact of not that I'm getting better, but like, am I in a good place, like healthy wise? Have I picked the right food? Am I keeping healthy? That kind of thing, or is it just because I'm getting pumped full of the good stuff every 2 months, and if I stop that, then we're back to square one. So I don't know how to answer it. Unfortunately, I'd love to be able to, but I'm really fortunate that at the moment things are okay.
If you're sticking around, do you know what? I know you as Uncle Fiesta, but I don't actually know your real name. Yet we've chatted this much now, and I feel like you should reveal it like it's some big secret, like a grand reveal. Um,
Sig.
yeah, we're just waiting on the grand reveal of the secret name. But yeah, the big reveal. Come on, don't keep sending messages through saying the reveal. We need to know. What is the name behind Uncle Fiesta? Yeah, like I say, if anyone does want another one to follow, definitely worth it. He has got an amazing Crohn's and colitis banner on his wall when he's streaming. It's very, very posh. Not like me. Mine's blurred out at the minute. You can't even see it. In terms of, yeah, saying about make the most out of remission and doing as much as you can, I think it's all you can do. At the minute, I'm sure Jen can relate, I don't actually know what I'm meant to be feeling or anything, so I don't actually know if I am or I'm not. To be fair, I don't know how you meant, like, does anyone know how you meant to know? Because I feel like it's so different. Have you guys got any advice for that, being as you've had it a lot longer, I guess? I don't know.
I just see how I feel when I wake up, and if I feel up to doing something that day, then I do it. At the
Yeah,
weekend, obviously the gyms are back open, so for
yeah,
me, that's the godsend.
yeah,
So I'm in the gym, or even
yeah,
though I've got the problems with my seating and everything,
yeah,
I'm just sort of taking every day as it comes, and if I feel okay, make the most of it that day. Because
yeah,
I might wake up like I did on Friday and just physically can't get out of bed for the first couple of hours.
yeah.
It's just a case of playing
Seeing.
it by ear, really. Because I remember back to days when I couldn't get out of bed for weeks on end, and I was just constantly living in my bedroom and in the bathroom.
Yeah,
And now I think, actually, I don't want to take those days for granted when I'm feeling well, and I can
yeah,
go out and I can do things. I can be normal and go to the pub and go
yeah,
to the gym with everybody like everybody else does.
yeah. What about you, James?
I think that's actually a very true thing to say. Make the most of it. I tend not to think about. I say I forget I've got undiagnosed IBD, but it's not something that plays in my mind. I don't, unless I have a stomachache for whatever reason. I go, I wonder if that's something coming back. But in the most part, I just tend to get on with my day, go to the gym, do work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it actually affects me, and it does sometimes. I do get the odd stomachache that does feel like it did before, and then it passes. And I guess the only way to tell would be that it's like anything, isn't it? No news is better than bad.
Yeah.
You presume everything's fine from there. So unless you start to feel the symptoms, I guess that's a strong sign to say that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
But as Louise already alluded to, it can come and go, and then you can feel fine for a few days, and all of a sudden it hits you, and you think, "Oh, where's this come from?" So I think it's really hard to tell. I don't think anybody actually knows 100%. If you know you're feeling good, roll with it, and then wait for the next one.
Yeah. I think for me at the minute, I've got a lot more. Like, I was literally like a permanently exhausted pigeon, to be honest. Literally, I was going to bed on empty, waking up on empty. Like, it's the first time in ages that I commented to my mum the first day I went back to work when I come home. I was like, I was feeling a bit sluggish because I hadn't eaten all day, had something to eat, and then, like, I don't know, about 20 minutes or so after I'd eaten, I was like, oh, I feel quite alert. Like, usually by now I'd feel like I need to go to bed. And then I was like, oh, I'll see how each day goes. And then by the end of the week, besides all the stuff I told you had happened, although I felt knackered by the end of the week because I'd been doing like 12, 14-hour days, which I feel like for most healthy people, 12, 14-hour days every day would tire them out within reason. It was like, oh, this is the first time ever that I don't feel totally like knackered up. So I have felt a bit better for that, but obviously toilet symptoms still don't seem all that normal-ish. But I don't know if that ever does go to normal. I don't know if anyone in the chat can shed any light on that, because obviously it's very different to, obviously if you've got a bag, I'm guessing it can change stuff up a little bit. But you've had Crohn's for 9 years, but I've only had a bag 12 months. How has a bag impacted intimate relationships? That's an amazing question. Thank you. Do you guys want to answer that one for us, Louise and James? Whoever wants to go first.
I had my bag I had it for a couple of years when I had my ileostomy bag. And I sort of had on and off relationships, but I never had anything sort of serious. But I didn't openly put it out there that I had it. But if anybody ever asked me, then I told them. I think obviously now it's a lot more talked about, so people aren't as bothered and they're not as grossed out as they were back then about it.
What about you, James?
I don't have a bag, but interestingly,
sorry, I'm just trying to throw it all out there to everyone, really.
No, I like the question actually, because one of my questions to sort of everybody listening and you guys was about relationships, because I saw your Instagram feed and how people, even now, sometimes can be, I think grossed out, not the word I use, but kind of put off and make it awkward and things like that. And I'm again very fortunate that I live with a nurse, so I guess she's seen it all. So even if I did go down that route, then it would be quite sort of normal for her, I guess. But I guess for the majority of people, can be shocking. So I'm just curious how everybody gets on with that. Have you got some horror stories from relationships, or have you been with people that have been really understanding? I guess it's probably a mix of the two.
For me personally, when I was getting diagnosed, I went into a flare-up and I was with someone at the time. And the first thing that she tested me for was leukemia. And I did have quite a few. It wasn't like generic symptoms. It was like things like bruising on the skin and like, I won't bore with the details. So the first thing I was actually tested for was leukemia. And obviously you have to say to someone, like, because didn't really think about it. It just come out of the doctor's surgery, obviously in shock and tears, thinking I've gone in thinking I've got a chest infection, and now I'm coming out thinking I might have leukemia. And was on the phone because I was like, I don't know if I want to tell my parents yet because obviously I'm just being tested for it at this point. I don't want to upset them. And I didn't really think about their reaction because obviously your head's in a blur. And obviously they're probably thinking, oh my God, I've not long started seeing this girl. And now she's being tested for cancer and stuff. And although he never really outright said anything to me, I had 2 weeks of hell where I'd obviously lost all this weight, and then that's when they first started flagging everything back up and testing me for that. But then I also had at least minimum 3 months where I wasn't right. I might get one day every month I was lucky, and then like I say, I've been on safe food ever since then because I was just too scared to eat. So I don't think I ever fully went, this is the best I've felt, and like I say, they've had to put me on steroids and stuff. And yeah, I used to often have to sit on the sofa with my hot water bottles, and it gets embarrassing because you're having to. I had a situation where I hadn't eaten in like days, and finally he bought me a Mackey's breakfast, and the first time I was ever bad in front of him, it was literally like I ate it. My mum rang me to see how I was feeling. I think 15 minutes after I'd finished it, I had no choice but I had to run, and that was obviously the first time he'd ever really saw me be bad, and it's very embarrassing, especially as a girl, to have some lad sat downstairs while you're upstairs thinking, I'm going to be in here all day now. That's me done. And yeah, he used to drop hints saying about wanting to go out, and I did get the impression it was very much like, oh, she's bad when it suits her sometimes, like with like the fatigue and stuff. But I'm self-employed, so I have to hold a business down. So all my energy was going on holding this business down, and then he was basically getting the dregs at the end, and I couldn't seem to make him understand like that business is paying for me to like live, and let alone the fact it's like my baby and stuff. Like I've worked hard for all these years to keep it, and it did put a massive strain on it. And in the end, obviously, we didn't stay together. And not long after, he said the words that have, it sounds bad, they've haunted me to this day, and it's a really silly thing to have said. But he just said, I don't know if I could basically be with someone not knowing every time they go to hospitals and doctors, not knowing what they're going to say. And for selfish reasons, I wouldn't want to get hurt if something was happening to you and stuff like that. And if I'm honest, it really upset me because it's almost like you being almost told that they don't want to be with you for something that's out of your control, because it's like going, if you were healthy, I'd want to be with you, but because you're not healthy, I don't want to be with you. And after that, I have been nicknamed by friends the commitment phobe because I won't let anyone near me enough to hurt me, to be honest. In fact, ironically, I have actually got a date on Sunday for the first time ever, which I'm hoping they're not watching, because if they are, they're going to go, oh God, am I going on a date with commitment phobe? But yeah, all my friends know me as the commitment phobe because I will find the slightest flaw in someone to come up with an excuse not to even go and meet them, even though I am on dating sites, because my attitude is, why bother? They don't understand, they're all going to have the same reaction. And although I don't have a bag, I do have a disgusting rib that all protrudes out, and that is a little bit self-conscious because obviously it's quite rare. So although most people go, oh, you got a few ribs sticking out, it is a little bit like going to someone, or all this sort of sticks out on my body. So people will go, I think, especially being a streamer, you get all the e-girl sort of, oh, she's an e-girl, blah, blah, blah. She likes a gaming, she does this. She's skinny, because obviously they don't realise that I'm constantly going to the toilet and not eating properly. That's why I'm thin. And then obviously because you're a bit thinner, or your rib sticks out more. So I think people think that, like, I don't know, that you're more prone to having all this interest and stuff, but I don't think it matters because it depends on how you feel. But yeah, it sounds daft, but that comment really just made me think, happy on my own, stay away from me. I'm happy as I am. I can afford to fund myself. Like, what benefit are you bringing to me? Because if there isn't really, like, if you're not like having like a 50-50 where it works both ways. If they're not going to support you, like his attitude was, sell your business, it's easier. Like, oh sorry, I'll just throw all my hard work away. So I think on the whole he was a decent person, but I just think there's a lack of understanding there. So yeah, for me, I'm not the best person to ask because I actively avoid it, and I'm very much not the person to take advice off because my approach is very, very negative, and I do know it is. But yeah, Louise, how have you found it? Because I know we was talking about Tinder and dating, weren't we, after the stream when we streamed
Yeah.
together?
I'm pretty open on
Yeah,
everything about obviously having IBD because I've
yeah,
had it for so long. I've got a few scars on my stomach. Most of my surgery has been keyhole, so I've been really lucky.
yeah,
But I know when I first started, I was with a guy for 7 years, and I used to get comments of, "You're only ill when it suits you," and well, you
had
can go
that.
out with the girls, but you can't be bothered to go out. And it'd be a case of he'd want to go walking for miles, and it's like, I need to know where there's a toilet.
Yeah,
And for me, it was a case of it isn't when it suits, but actually, if I've got something coming up, I psychologically sort myself out so I can go.
yeah,
Um, I was really worried when I met a guy after we'd split up. I was so self-conscious about my scars and everything, and oh gosh, what happens if he sees them? And when I talked about it afterwards, he was like, never even noticed them, to be honest.
mm,
And it put me at ease. And I thought, actually, if I'm honest and open, people know what to expect.
yeah,
I still worry about going to the toilet, and
yeah,
it's a case of people don't care. Like, a guy's not bothered if you go to the toilet or not because we all do it. But I think in your head, you make it out to be a lot worse than it
yeah,
is.
definitely agree with that. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Obviously, you guys are in relationships, so obviously give us the opposite approach to how your partners have been, I guess. Whichever one wants to go first.
Yeah, no, you're right. Again, she's a nurse, so I guess she's seen it all. She was on at me for a long time.
Yeah,
When I was losing blood to go, she would give me no end of stick regularly. Still does now because she
yeah,
knows she was right, which is probably the worst thing to be in a relationship, knowing the other person's right.
yeah,
But she's been really good, really, really good. She knows when my infusions are and I don't. She seems to remind me regularly. You know, if I'm feeling under the weather on it, she'll always talk to me about whether it's
yeah,
symptoms of IBD. But now she's been brilliant. I was in that period of time where I said I was genuinely scared at one point.
yeah,
I did have some quite frank conversations with her, and I was like, "Yeah, we've got children together." I was like, "Are you going to still want to do this if I have to have a bag?" And that was naive of me at the time because now I know more. But at the time, I was, you know, excuse the expression, shit a brick. I was like, you know, I'm going to get a bag. And I thought she, you know, that would be it. It would put her off. But she was very kind of like, whatever, doesn't matter. And I think that's the, you know, certainly from the experiences I've just heard
yeah.
of those people that are no longer in your life.
Mm.
As I said to you in the last stream, if that's the kind of person they are, then they're not meant to be.
No, no.
There's no point wasting your time with that kind of individual.
I know it
if it's
sounds
psychology.
it sounds so bad, but I would literally on the I think it was the Saturday night, the night I had the meal that made me bad. I was crying in the bath to one of my one of my good friends, and because basically it sounds harsh. I was actually debating whether I was even going to go and meet this person I'm meant to be meeting on Sunday, and they were like, "What is it, Sam, that's so bad about the thought of actually?" Bearing in mind, this person I actually went to school with years ago, so they're not actually a total stranger as such. And I was just like, oh, like this comment was said, and I was like, they said what? And I was like, oh, I thought I'd told you, and they're like, no. And he's like, I'm ready to go and kick his head in and all this stuff, like, and like you say, like, if this is the sort of person, like, why are you letting it bother you so much? And I was like, I don't know. I guess my brain keeps going, oh, all people are gonna have this. I know that's not the case, but I think it's you build up that protection of, on the whole, I'm quite happy, so
You build
why
up
do
that
I
I
want
think you
protection
to?
learn a lot
regardless
about
of.
somebody.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think it's made you learn more about people quicker because like you, I'll
Yeah.
just come out with it. If well, to be honest, I don't even have that luxury anymore because the minute they see my Instagram account and it's plastered with Crohnies stuff, it's obvious already. So I don't even have to have the talk now. I just wait to see if they go, oh, I've noticed this, and then if they don't say anything, I don't, and if they do, I'll bring it up. But if I was gonna like if before I even went on a date, I'd mention it and stuff. But like I don't see it as a secret. It's if it bothers them, it bothers them. But it does put me off. What was you gonna say again? Sorry, James.
Just saying, like any relationship experience, whether you've been cheated on or had a bad relationship, or whether it's someone who said something about your personal condition, it's always going to leave a sour taste, isn't it? But
yeah, definitely.
As blunt as it sounds, and not in an awful way, you've just got to
get on with it.
They should be they're insignificant. If that's the type of individual they are, let them crack on. It's not worth. And that's the same with anything. Whether someone cheats on you, whether someone's bad to you in a relationship, they're not for you. Sling your hook. See you later. It doesn't mean everyone's going to be the same, but I do get why you protect yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find the one who accepts it if you protect yourself too much.
Oh no, yeah. My mates go crazy at me for it. I'm terrible. Like literally the slightest flaw in someone and I'll use it as an excuse not to meet them. So like someone had been asking me out for a while and I said, oh, I think they're a little bit hippie-fied. And they made a post about a bamboo toothbrush and I was like, done. I'm out of there. It was on about crystals and like I was just taking the mick going, oh, so if I shove a bit of rose quartz up my behind, will it cure my Crohns and all this sort of stuff to them? So it's probably not meant for me anyway. But yeah, the slightest thing of like, right, you're sounding too much of a, as though you're going to tell me I can cure my illness with something. So, but yeah. Just reading some of the comments. I know Uncle Fiesta did go, but he did say he has got a partner who doesn't have any issues with his bag, but obviously he's quite self-conscious, and then he's saying they'd been together before Crohn, so that's quite nice. It sounds like that's very supportive. And then I've been very lucky with Michelle. She has put up with a lot. I do wonder, actually, it'd be quite interesting in terms of partners. It must be difficult, like, because like Uncle Fiesta's just said that it's more about his feelings on it, and like me with my dating, it's more like I imagine these guys are thinking, oh my god, why is she making everything so difficult? So I do wonder actually from that perspective that how they put up with us when we're having down days or days where we're struggling, because it's got to be quite hard to watch a loved one sort of struggling, whether it be mentally or in terms of like going to the toilet or health stuff, I guess, really. If anyone's got any light they can shed on that, feel free. I will wrap it up. I did let it go over just slightly, seeing as a lot of people didn't hear us at the very beginning, and I can only apologise for that again. Just making everyone warm their voices up first, apparently. Does anyone want to ask any questions before we sort of wrap it up, or do you guys want to ask each other anything while we're all on the stream? Anyone?
I'm curious about this, about the bag.
Yeah.
Louise, you said you had it reversed. Only because I know someone else who's going through something similar or been through something similar. I didn't even know they could do that.
Yeah, with mine, I was very, even though I didn't have a choice about having the surgery, at first I refused. I was like, 19, not having an ileostomy bag, it's not happening. And when they said, well, you can have it, but we can reverse it, and I've got what they call is a J pouch, and they create essentially a fake large intestine out of your small bowel, and then reconnect it all up again.
It's pretty interesting.
It is really clever. And as I say, I've got small scars on my stomach, and then I've got like a C-section scar, and that's how they've managed to do it. So the way they can do it with surgery without having to full on cut you all straight down is amazing.
Yeah, I think it's because there's not enough information. Like even now, like 2 years ago, there wasn't enough information at the time. So you instantly think bag, and you just like, oh, that's it. Like,
yeah.
It's game over.
And when the surgeon
say that again, Louise.
When the surgeon essentially said to me, "This is what we're going to do," and I was like, "Not happening. I'm just not having it done." And then I met with another surgeon at the hospital who is now my main surgeon. He was like, no, it's fine. We can do it keyhole. It's not an issue. And I think it all depends on the consultants and the surgeons you get as well. But your treatment, your support, and the way they do things.
It's quite interesting.
GP, so it's interesting to hear the other side of it, really.
And not just that, the fact that what you're saying about sometimes you better go in and get in a potentially a second opinion because you potentially have had a much bigger scar, I guess, if
Yeah.
depending on who wants to do it. So that's sort of worth noting, I guess, because at the end of it's quite bad really, because surely no one's going to want a big scar, are they? They're going to want the least one possible, I guess. Like, when I had heart surgery, they did all that through keyhole, and you could search all over my body, and I still don't think you'd find where they've been in my heart, because they went through my right groin up into the left side of my heart, and the scar is so tiny, especially now it's been a few years, it's faded, and you think it's mental to think they've been all the way into my heart with some camera burning stuff away, basically on a camera on a stick through all my veins. So it's quite amazing. Like in terms of your heart, weirdly, the technology I think for like your heart is like so far advanced. Like there's stuff they can do even with like if they want to do like a triple heart bypass and stuff. A lot of that's done through keyhole now, whereas originally there was like breaking your old chest open, breaking stuff apart just to have a look at your heart, and now they're going right, let's do it through keyhole and stuff. So I think a lot of health issues now, the technology is fantastic, but then it's so lacking in other sort of health issues, I guess. Does anyone else have any questions? Anyone? No? Okay, cool. At some point I will sort out doing this giveaway. I'm gonna see if we can get to 100 people though in order to do it. So we'll start plugging that on Insta once I finally get some time free, because the plan is eventually I am going to come off the shop floor. Well, not cut on the shop floor 2 days a week, but I'll be floating around the salon still until someone's trying to manage to take over a little bit, and then I'm hoping I'll only actually do about 4 days a week on the salon, sort of maybe just doing a few days, actually cutting a few days, sort of managing, so I can actually dedicate more time to going off and doing stuff like this. So eventually I will have more time for it, but at the minute, especially being a hairdresser, just going back, like Jen knows, at the minute everyone wants their hair cutting, so it is what it is. And Louise used to do hairdressing as well, so we've got technically 3 hairdressers on here. So, yeah, so at the minute I'm very strapped for time, because my last 2 Mondays I haven't streamed either, so I do apologise, but I've just got a hell of a lot going on. But yeah, if you haven't already and you want to follow, if someone's watching this later at a later date and you want to follow, feel free. I'm also slowly putting them onto YouTube, so my one from last week has gone up today. It's a little bit delayed because of, obviously, like I say, because of work, and then this one will be going onto YouTube. I'll probably try and record it the weekend, try and get that on there. Is there anything you guys want to add to people who are either diagnosed or waiting to be diagnosed, and like a positive message you want to give people who are watching before we sign off? Do you want to go in order? Go on, Jen.
Just
Say
roll with
positive.
it.
Just roll with
Stay
it.
positive. Just remember the mental health side of it. It does get better once you learn more about it, and you accept what's happening and stuff. Just keep going.
Yeah, I
all.
think that's quite a good one. Keep going. James,
Just keep going.
James, what
I'd
about you?
echo that, because I said that on the last stream.
Yeah.
It does get better. It's not all doom and gloom, and the 3 of us are living proof of that.
Yeah.
All at different stages, no doubt, but it's not. There's some funny stories that we've shared,
Yeah.
and you have to laugh about it because you're stuck with it. That's what it is. And I'm looking forward to the giveaway, because we've got some really cool stuff coming which hasn't been released yet, but maybe will be in time for the giveaway. So if anybody, it's going to be big. So if anybody is listening, share with your friends, and follow, because it's going to be well worth the giveaway. Trust me.
Oh, even I'm excited now. Louise, have you got anything to add?
I think essentially it's just take every day as it comes and enjoy the days when you're feeling well, and the days you're not, speak to people, tell people, and tell them how you're feeling, because there's always somebody that's going to listen or going to reply to you, or just to make you feel that little bit better, feel like you're not alone.
Perfect, thank you. Massive thank you to you guys coming back on for a second time round, because I've not only stole like an hour or so from you before, I've also done it again. So I've stole quite a few hours from you all by this point, so I do really much appreciate it. Also, to anyone watching, I am currently in talks with potentially getting a doctor who's got IBD on the stream. So that should be quite interesting, actually. So I've got that person, and I'm talking to a few others. I know one girl, I think she's got, I can't remember if it's Crohn's or colitis, but I know she's got a bag as well. Her Instagram's really nice because she does actually get her bag out for people as well to show. And I'm not convinced I didn't see a changer bag on one, which would be quite nice, because I think like it, like you said earlier, it does bring home to the fact that people do show it now, and I do think it's important to show people what's going on, I guess. Thank you all who's been watching, really do appreciate it, and I can only apologise for the sound at the beginning with you all getting frustrated. If ever that happens again, please shout up within the first few seconds and I will sort it. It's usually when my lovely kitty headset likes to do an update on the drivers. Sometimes it whacks stuff out of sync, so I've just changed the settings up and it worked fine. So unfortunately, sometimes it's great when it goes right, technology is, but sometimes it needs tweaking. So thank you ever so much, and I'll see you all next Wednesday with my new guest as well. Right, I'm signing off now, so if you guys all want to say bye to everyone, and then I'll end the stream.
Bye.